Hello and welcome back. So today I'm going to showing you how to create weather application. So this is the application look like. Pretty simple, just one input field with a button search icon right here. So if I do London, for example, right, if I hit enter, as you can see the icon is move around and hopefully now we get that card, right? The animation is pretty cool. I use motion to do that. If I do random something in here, hit enter, and as you can see, we have city not found. It's come from bottom, the animation. And let's try to do that again. New York, hit enter, and bam, that's pretty nice. Right? If I hover it, it's look like this. Okay, that's pretty nice, and hopefully you learned something new from this simple video. So let's get started. So I'm going to start from the scratch. I'm going to generate the brand new Next.js application here. So we can say npx create next apparatus. And for the application name, I'm going to say weather app. Use TypeScript yes, ESLint yes, Talin yes, source directory, I'm going to say no, app router yes, turbo pack yes, import alias no. So now let's cd into the weather app folder, and from here I'm going to open it inside Visual Studio Code. Alright, so now we need to basically install the setcn UI. Let's go to setcn documentation, and I'm going to use this -d flag in order to not get any question for New York Zing and CSS variable and etc. Right, I just want to paste that right here, npx setcn @lattice init -d. Alright, as you can see, I'm going to use a dash of force because we're using React 19. Alright, great. So now let's run npm run dev. Alright, so let's first open the page.tsx, and I just want to remove all this div right here inside the return. And then I just want to create new div, right, like that. And then inside that div, I'm going to put class name that have minimal height to one screen, which is 100 view height, right? And also I add a background gradient to bottom from the sky color into the blue color that also have a flex center right here to make it every content inside that div right here, it should be on the center. Let's save and let's take a look. This is what we have. Okay, so next thing is I'm going to create like a container in this div right here. So let's do a div. Inside that we have a class name. So I'm going to paste this with full maximal width to medium and also space y to 4. I really like this space y to 4 because it's making kind of like a space between all the children element. For example, this h1 will have a space like this, right? That's pretty cool. And inside that div, I'm going to create a form, right? So inside that form, we have two elements basically. First is the input and then the button. So we're going to use input from the setcn UI and also button from the setcn UI. Let's open a terminal. So I'm going to install these three components: input, button, and also card. Let's hit enter. So I'm going to use a dash force. Great. So now as you can see inside the component folder, we have an UI, and then inside that we have all three components right now. Great. So let's put that input in here. Let's do an input, come from the component UI input like this. So we can add some props inside this input. So I'm going to give a name of this input city, and type is going to be text, and also the placeholder, enter city name, the class name background white with 90% of opacity. Okay. So let's hover it, and as you can see right here, 0.9, right? 0.9 opacity. Great, so let's save that, and then let's run npm run dev again. So as you can see, this is what we have, right? Just one input field, and then now I'm going to add button right here, button search. Let's go back. I'm going to put the button on another component. So let's do a function that have name submit button, and inside that function, I want to return a button come from the setcn. So let's do button. And then inside the button, we have a search icon from the Lucid React like this. And also I'm going to add the class name into, I'm going to say the width, let's say 4, and also the height, I'm going to set that to 4 as well. So let's render the submit button inside the form element in here. Now, as you can see, we have the search. And also I'm going to put the search on the right side here, so I can add a display flex like this, as you can see. And of course we need to add gap as well. So gap, I'm going to say 2, and here we go. That's pretty nice. And also inside this form, I'm going to add an action. So we can basically enter when we click this input field or when we click this button search right here. Okay, so I'm gonna say handle search. So let's create that function inside home right here. Let's do cons and then handle search set equals to an arrow function. For now, I just want to console log. Let's do hello. All right, so let's take a look what happened. So basically, we cannot use server because by default, this component is server component. So we need to change that into a client component, use client like that. So now hopefully it's right. Great. So let's go to inspect and then click console. And then now, as you can see, if I hit enter, we get an hello right here. Great. And also you can specify this button should be have type submit. When this form is submitted, we need to fetch the API inside this handle search function, right? So we are going to use API come from the OpenWeather. You can just go to openweathermap.org, create an account, and then now you can go to your profile right here on the top, and then click the My API keys. And then now you have your API key right here. You can just copy, right? And then inside your code right here, you need to create your environment variable. Let's create .env. And then now I'm going to create the OpenWeather API key and then just paste the API right here. All right, the API key, paste that right here. And then now we can go back to page, right? We need to make a fetch right here, but I'm going to put the function right on the other file, which is I'm going to create an action file in here. Let's do action.ts, and then I just want to make sure this going to be use server like this, right? And inside this I'm going to export a async function. Let's do async function. I'm going to call this get weather data like that. And inside in here, I just want to use try and catch. Let's do try. And then inside this, I'm going to catch the error like that. All right. Just for now, just console error the error. And then inside the try here, I'm going to say const response set equals to await for this fetch, right? And we are going to put the URL. I'm going to use this URL right here, https://api openweathermap.org/data and etc. Right? And the city right here is going to become from the props that we have to send on this function. So we need to grab that right here. I'm going to say city is going to be in a string, right? And as you can see, the OpenWeather API key is also pasted inside this right here. App ID is going to be your API key. Great. So now inside in here, I'm going to say const data set equals to await for the response.json. And then down here, I just want to return that data, or I just want to do like zero, right? Just do like that. And then now let's go back to page.tsx. So now here we can destructuring the data. So we can say const, we grab the data, right? Set equals to await for get weather data. Just make sure this function is going to be async because we await in here, right? And then we need to import the get weather data, and then we need to send the city value. But how do we get the city value? So here I just want to comment that first. And inside these props, right, inside this parameter, I'm going to get the form data that have form data type. And inside that, I'm going to say const city set equals to form data.get city as a string. Why I'm doing this? Because I set the input name into city. That's why I can get that city value by say form data.get city as a string. Okay, so now we can just do get weather data and send the city right here as a property in this action right here. Great. So now let's try to console log the data like so. And then I think we're getting some data does not exist on type data any. For now, just leave it like that. And then now let's try to make a request. So I'm going to do London and hit enter. And as you can see, guys, that we have that value right here. Pretty nice. So based on this response, I'm going to create the interface, right? So let's create the type folder right here on the root. I'm going to create type folders, types, and inside that, I'm going to create weather.ts. So in here, I'm going to export interface call weather data, right? Weather data like this. Just make sure this is uppercase like that. And inside in here, first I'm going to say name, right? The name is going to be a string because as you can see right here on the response data, we have name is string, right? And also I'm going to add another thing, which is a main. This main is basically an object. As you can see right here on the response, we have main that have an object. And I just want to get the, let me say temperature is going to be a number. And then also I'm not going to use this right here. I just want to use temperature, humidity, and also feel likes, right? It's also a number. And also I'm going to get the weather. Let's do weather. It's going to be an array. And inside that, as you can see on the response, I believe it's right here. It's basically an array, okay? So we make sure that this is going to be an array like this that have this object. So we can do like this. Great. So inside this object, we have a main. Main is going to be a string. And also we have a description. Also it's going to be string. And also the icon is also a string. And also I'm going to add another key right here called wind, right? And then I just want to put the speed. Okay, let's take a look at this one right here. Great. So now we need to use the weather data interface right here into that action. So I'm going to set this function, it should be returning a promise, right? And also I'm going to put that on the bottom right here. This data, it should be have type from the weather right here, weather data interface. So we need to put that right here and then just import it. And I just want to make sure this is going to be an optional because sometimes the response is, we don't know, right? Sometimes it's error and etc. So we need to put that like this, but we get an error. To fix this error, we can just simply return empty object in here, just like that. Now the error should be gone. Nice. Let's go back to the page.tsx. So now as you can see that we get the data, right? And then we need to store the data into the state and then we need to render that down here. Okay, so first let's create the state on the top right here. So I'm going to create state called weather, right? By default, it's going to be null that have the weather data interface right here. Right, so now we need to check right here if we get the value or not. So we can say if we get a value, which is data, I'm going to set the weather data into data. That means now the weather here, it should be have a value. So we can render that on the bottom right here, right? So let's do that. So under the form tag, I'm going to check first if the weather have a value like this. I'm going to render the content in here, right? First, I'm going to render a div like that. And inside that, I'm going to render the card that we already installed. So let's do card like this, right? And then this card, I'm going to put the card content inside that like this. So this card right here, I'm going to add class name. So basically, this is going to be background white. I'm going to use this one right here. And also on the card content, I'm going to put the class name to padding, let's do 6 like this. And inside the card content, I'm going to put first the heading 2, right? Let's say heading 2. And inside that, we have the weather.name. So let's take a look what we have. I'm going to do London, hit enter. And now as you can see, we have London right here. Pretty nice. Let's go back again. Let's add image tag in here, and inside that I'm going to put my props. So here I'm going to set the source, alt, and width, and also the height. So this is how we get the icon basically. And also I just want to disable the error from the no image element, right? Just use that because next thing is I just want to use motion. So we can say motion.emg. Right, so if I save that, and as you can see, we get that icon right here, or maybe I'm going to change the color here because we cannot see that, right? Let's say 70 or something. I think let's do 50 maybe. Okay, as you can see that we have the icon, right? That's pretty nice. And down here, I'm going to put a div and I'm going to space this temperature, right? I'm going to use math around and then I get the weather.main.temperature and add this Celsius right here. Save that. And as you can see, we have that value. Okay, pretty nice. Great. So let's also add the description of the weather down here. I'm going to go back and under this div, I'm going to create another div that have this weather description. Let's go back and then we have this value, right? Let's go back and then I want to all these element here, it should be on the center. So I'm going to wrap all of those inside the div like this. So I'm going to put all of that. Let's grab all of this. Okay, just putting that on this div. And then I just want to add class name to text center. And also I'm going to add margin bottom to 4. Let's go back and then this is what we have. And then I'm going to make it this heading to a little bigger. So I'm going to set that to class name, text to XL and also bold font. Here we go. And also I'm going to make this text right here, the temperature to bigger. So let's go back in here. I'm going to set that class name, text into 5XL and also the font, I'm going to set that to bold. Great. So now this one right here, I'm going to go to this description, class name, and then paste the styling right here, text grid 500, margin top, and also capitalize text transform. Let's go back and this is what we have. Look pretty clean. Let's go back in here and under this div, I'm going to create another div. This is basically have 3 column. I'm going to set the display to grid column 3 and then gap each item is going to be 4 and add margin top to 6, right? Inside in here, we have basically another div, right? This is going to be maybe some icon going on. As you can see, if I have 3, it's going to be look like this. So first, I'm going to make sure this class name should be have text center. That means all the content inside in here should be on the center, right? So first, I'm going to render the thermometer icon from the Lucid React, and inside that I'm going to add this class name with 6 H6 MX Auto and also the text orange 500. So this is what we have, right? This little icon right here, pretty nice. So let's add some text down here. So I'm going to paste this div right here, right? Fill likes, and also we have font semi-bold on this fill like value, right? I'm going to use math around as well. So this is going to be what we have, right? Pretty nice. And I just want to copy and paste all of that basically. I'm going to copy this one, paste that right here, and also paste that right here as well, right? That's pretty nice. And also I'm going to change the icon right here. I'm going to use droplets. And also just make sure import from the Lucid React. And also for the color, I'm going to use a blue like this. And also this text is going to be humidity like this, right? And also for the value here, I'm going to get that from the humidity. And then it's going to be a percent like this. Let's go back. And then as you can see, that's pretty cool. Let's go back in here. And the next thing is I'm going to use wind, right? And also this color, I'm going to change that into teal color like that. And also the text, I'm going to use wind like this. Also for the value, I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to say wind.speed. And then of course, I'm going to set that to meter per second. Save that and here we go. As you can see, that's pretty nice. But anyway, we don't handle the error, right? So as you can see right here on the top, when we fetch the get weather data, we don't get any error in here, right? So let's go back to the action and we are going to return error in here. So the error is going to be an optional because sometimes it's error, sometimes it's not, okay? So this is going to be a string, and inside the try, I'm going to check first if we don't have the city string in here, city dot, I'm going to use stream like this. I'm going to throw an error. So I'm going to say return city name is required. Great. And also down here, after we fetch this right here, right, I'm going to check. So I'm going to say if the response is not okay, I'm going to I think I just want to return this new error, city not found, just like that. And also down here in catch right here, I'm going to use Zod in order to validate the error, right? So first I'm going to install that, npm install Zod like this. So now we can run that again, npm run dev. It's going to be npm run dev. And also on the top right here, I'm going to create variable called weather schema, right? This basically will checking the response should be same with this value right here, because sometimes if the API is changed, we get an error, right? So here on the top, I'm going to import, it's going to be import Zod. I just want to, I think we can do, yeah, good. So we can say import Z from the Zod and we check, right? The weather schema should be have object with name should be string, main should be an object that have temperature number, humidity number, field likes number, and etc. This is basically will same with the type that we're writing in here. Okay, great. So now we can use this schema down here. So first I'm going to change this to raw data, and then down here I'm going to say const data set equals to, I'm going to use weather schema dot parse. I'm going to parse this raw data, right? This is response. I'm going to check that if the response, it should be matched with this schema right here that we're typing, right? If they're same, I'm going to return this data. If not, return this error, right? So in this error, first, I'm going to check that. So if the error, okay, instance of Z, I'm going to use Z right here. Let's say Z dot Zod error like this. I'm going to return, right? The error is going to be, I'm going to remove the message. And in here, I'm going to say invalid weather data received. And else I'm going to return this error right here. Okay, so nice. Now we get an error and we can get that from here. So we can destructuring the error like that. So now let's try to console log the error. Great, so let's take a look. If I just paste something in here, as you can see, city not found, right? Nice, we get an error. And then now I want to basically use the error in here. I'm going to say if we have an error, I'm going to render this element, right? So I'm going to use an n, and then here I'm going to render a div. That I'm going to say error. So basically, something wrong happened here because cannot find name error. Did you? Okay, I think that is because this error cannot read outside this function. So we need to create another state called error in here, like this, right? And this error, it should be have the default value. The default value is going to be empty string like this. And also we need to check right here, right? I'm going to check if, let me change this error name because now the error response name is same with the error on the state. So we need to change that into, I'm going to say weather error, just like that. And now I'm going to check if we have an error. What I'm going to do down here is set the error to weather error, just like that. Okay, so now let's try. If I typing random something here, hit enter and we get city not found. Let's try to just styling this div a little bit. Class name, I'm going to paste this text center, text red color, and then the background red, rounded, and etc. So let's take a look. This is what we have, right? Pretty nice. Let's try to do London, for example. Hit enter and we get London, but we still get the city not found. And city not found still render on the console. What we're doing wrong? So I think the problem is because we not reset the error value, right? So every time we click the handle search, I like to reset the error value. So on the top right here, I'm gonna set that the error into empty string, just like this. So we know every time we click something on the right here, it's going to be reset the error. Okay, if I do random something, we get an city not found, but we still see this card. So basically, when we get an error, we need to set the weather into null, right? Like this. I just want to remove this. Okay, great. Let's try that again. London, hit enter, we get the London value. Random something, we get city not found. London. Okay, London. Great. Super nice. We get the value. So how do we get the loading, right? In here, I like to have some loading animation going on in this icon. So let's go back to the submit button, and I want to use form status come from the React DOM. And in here, we can get the pending, right? Because we set the form into handle search. That's why in here on the submit button, we can get the pending. And inside in here, I'm going to set it to disable into pending. Okay, when pending happen, I want to the button should be disabled. And also I like to make this search icon will spin. So I'm going to paste this really simple condition. If the pending is true, I'm going to set animate spin on this search. So let's try to typing New York in here. I'm going to hit enter. And as you can see, we have that loading, right? Did you see that? London, hit enter, we get the loading. New York, we get the loading as well. So basically we're done with all the functionality of this weather application, but I like to add the animation going on when I typing, for example, London, like this. I like to have kind of like animation. So I'm going to use a frame of motion to do that. So let's first install that. I'm going to say npm install framer motion like this. So now I can import the motion from the framer motion, and we can use this motion to whatever we want. For example, on this arrow, right, I'm going to use motion.div like so, and also on the closing tag as well, motion.div. When I do that, of course, nothing will be happen because we not specify the animation. As you can see, nothing happened, right? So let's try to add some props on this motion.div. So as you can see, we have the initial opacity 0, animate opacity 1, and exit opacity 0. So this is basically the first time will happen, and we animate the opacity to 1. Let me showing you what will happen. So I'm going to say London first. Let's do London, hit enter. And if I typing something random in here, and we not really see the animation going on, so let's try to add another field in here. Okay, so I'm gonna say y into 10 pixel, and also I'm going to animate that into y to 0 like this. So basically what happened is it's going to be moved from the bottom into the top, right? Let's try that. I'm going to refresh, and hopefully everything is set up. I'm going to typing random something in here, and as you can see, it's come from the bottom, right? I hope you can see that. Let's try that again. Here we go. That's look super clean. And also I'm going to add that another motion on this div as well. So let's wrapping this div here using motion.div, and also the closing tag as well, motion.div. And also inside that we need to specify the initial, the animate, and also the exit right here. And I'm not going to use 10 in this case, I'm going to use 20. And also I'm going to add the transition into, I'm going to set the duration, I'm going to set that to 0.3. Okay, let's try to see what happened. So I'm going to do London, hit enter. As you can see, it's come from the bottom, really smooth. Also, I'm going to add the animation on this heading 2 right here. So let's scroll it down a little bit. On this heading 2, I'm going to say motion.heading 2, and also on the close tag as well, motion.heading 2. Okay. And inside that motion.heading 2 in here, I'm going to send this initial scale 0.5 and animate scale 1. So basically it will come from the small to the scale 1. Let me do that again. London, hit enter. As you can see, that's pretty clean. And also for this as well, let's scroll down a little bit. I add motion in this image tag with initial opacity 0 and etc. with animate opacity 1 and etc. And also in this div, I also want to add a motion dot, wait, what I'm doing? Motion dot div, and also on the closing tag as well, motion dot div. Okay, and inside that we need to send the initial animate, and in this case I'm going to add the transition delay, so it will delay 0.2. Okay, and also in this description also I'm going to add the motion dot div, and also down here on the closing tag as well, motion dot div. And I just want to paste this right here, the props that have initial and animate. And in this case, the transition, I just want to increment that from the first one is 0.2 and then now 0.3. Okay, nice. Let's try it. I'm going to go back in here and just refresh. Now let's try to do New York. Hit enter. And here we go, right? We have that pretty nice animation. I don't want to waste your time by watching me putting motion.div, etc. And as you can see on this grid, right, on this 3 column right here, I adding this motion.div with initial value and the transition 0.4. As you can see, the transition is come from the 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and then down here, as you can see on the first column, I use while hover. This is happen when I hover the item, and I use scale 1.05, right? And all that item I adding this while hover effect. Okay, so what happened is, as you can see, if I hover it, as you can see, it's look pretty clean. Let's try the final result. Here I'm gonna say New York. Hit enter. That's pretty clean. Okay, so if I do random something here, and of course city not found, if I do London, hit enter, that's super clean. Okay, hopefully you learned something new from this video, right? That's pretty clean, and thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.